Right, let's go to Brussels now and speak to our correspondent, Dave Keating. So, Dave, who's telling the truth then? What did NATO members agree to when it comes to defence spending?
Yeah, we're getting more information as the afternoon goes on. It was kind of a wild ride. We started getting reports around noon today that Donald Trump was threatening to pull the U.S. out of NATO unless members dramatically ratcheted up their military spending immediately up to that 2% of GDP targets. Then we had a hastily organized press conference by the U.S. president, which was not previously scheduled, where he said he remains fully committed to NATO, that this was in fact a very successful summit, that everyone in the room was getting along. So we got a very different picture. He was asked 3 times, did you make the threat that you would pull the U.S. out of NATO? He didn't really answer the question. As the afternoon's going on, we're learning it appears he did indeed make the threat. He said something like, if the 2% target isn't reached, the U.S. could go it alone. Officials are warning maybe not to read too much into that, but it's clear that European leaders took it as a threat. Now, Trump also said that their leaders had agreed to increase their spending, but failed to give any real specifics. And as we heard from President Macron as he was leaving, nothing's really changed. There was already a commitment from this previous NATO summit in Wales to meet this 2% by 2024 target. That remains unchanged today. And the French president's other point is obviously the leaders are pushing back against Trump's wish to immediately throw money at the military, because that would be not only not possible, but probably not well advised, because that would probably not be money well spent if they did it so fast. So we're probably going to get more details emerging over the next hours. It still remains quite unclear what exactly happened behind those closed doors here today.
And Dave, apart from defence, what else have NATO members been discussing?
Well, unfortunately, a lot of the other things on the agenda today got pushed off, but they, as ever, we're talking about the mission in Afghanistan. There's hopes that a new ceasefire could have some movement there, and there's recognition that the strategies that have been being used for the NATO mission in Afghanistan aren't working. They also talked about Georgia and Ukraine, the prospects of those countries joining NATO eventually. This is, of course, something adamantly opposed by Russian President Vladimir Putin, with whom Donald Trump is meeting on Monday. Asked today at his press conference whether the other NATO leaders feel concerned about this summit he's having with Putin on Monday, Trump said no, quite the opposite. They told him they're very happy that he's meeting with Putin. But it remains to be seen what type of concessions he might be giving to Putin, and that was very much of concern for both Ukraine and Georgia, the leaders of which were here today. They very much would like to join NATO, and this is something that Russia remains opposed to.
Thank you very much indeed for that update from Brussels. That was Dave Keating.